Usually when we talk about a business transaction, there's this, this expectation of precision.
Right.
Like two CEOs sit at a mahogany table, a contract is drawn up, hands are shaken, and an asset smoothly changes hands. It's predictable.
Yeah, it's a structured exchange. You know exactly what you're getting, what it costs, and, when it arrives.
But then you look at the global football transfer market during a post-World Cup summer window, and suddenly that orderly boardroom looks more like a trading floor during a stock market crash.
Oh, absolutely. Total chaos.
You've got millions of euros just flying across borders, managers abruptly walking out the door, and whole squads being ripped down to the studs in a matter of days.
Yeah.
We are navigating an absolute avalanche of global football transfer news today. And honestly, if you want to survive this financial Wild West and stay ahead of the curve, you need to hit like, share, and subscribe right now. Seriously, tap those buttons because our mission today is to break down every single piece of transfer news. We are not missing a single update. We're covering the post-2026 World Cup, massive payouts, the stunning managerial shifts, and a complete ground-up overhaul happening across Italy's Serie A.
It really does sound like chaos on the surface. I mean, it does. But beneath the sheer volume of these moves, there is a very distinct pattern.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. There's intense, calculated strategy dictating every single euro spent. And my goal today is to connect those dots for you, to show you the architecture beneath all that noise.
Okay, let's unpack this because before we look at where the players are going, we have to look at the managers pulling the strings, right? Strategy dictates spending.
Exactly. The manager sets the entire vision.
And the biggest shockwave here has to be Newcastle United.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie Howe is gone. Just a sudden, abrupt departure right before the English Premier League even kicks off.
Which is just wild timing.
Right. And to replace him, Newcastle drops an 11 million euro compensation fee to Al Ahly to bring in Matthias Jaissle.
The timing alone is staggering, especially, right before the season starts. But the fee is what really turns heads.
Yeah, and let's just pause on the details here. Jaissle is 38 years old. Yes, he boasts 2 Asian Champions League titles with Al Ahly, and Newcastle has locked him in on a long-term contract until June 2030.
Right.
But I've pushed back here for a second. Does paying 11 million euros for a manager straight out of the Asian Champions League signal that Premier League clubs no longer value that local, gritty EPL experience?
It really seems that way, yeah.
Because for years, the narrative was that you needed a manager who knew how to survive a rainy Tuesday night away at Stoke.
I mean, that narrative is rapidly becoming obsolete. It really is. This move raises a fundamental question about how front offices evaluate managerial pedigrees today.
How so?
Well, it's not just about domestic survival tactics anymore. It's about handling multinational dressing rooms, complex egos, and high-stakes knockout football.
Oh, I see.
Right. Jaissle's success in the Asian Champions League proves he can manage intense pressure and dictate play across incredibly diverse tactical styles against, foreign opposition.
So you're saying the tactical systems he deployed in Asia translate seamlessly to England?
Exactly. Newcastle isn't buying a coach just to navigate the first 10 games of the season. They're buying a long-term philosophical project.
Hence that 2030 contract.
Right, hence the contract. They're betting heavily that structural organization and tactical innovation transcend geography. If your pressing triggers and transitional structures are elite, they'll work whether you are in Riyadh or in Newcastle.
It is a fascinating gamble. Now, this idea of trusting a specific vision leads us perfectly into what is happening at Fulham.
Oh, yeah, the Arbeloa move.
Yes. They just brought in Álvaro Arbeloa as their new head coach. And his very first move, he immediately raids his former club, Real Madrid.
Classic.
He brings in striker Gonzalo Garcia for 40 million euros, plus 2 million in add-ons. Then he also grabs young midfielder Cesar Palacios for 10 million. But here's the thing. Both of these deals include a 30% sell-on clause and matching rights for Madrid.
Which is just a masterclass in modern transfer economics. I mean, notice those two specific mechanisms, right? Matching rights and sell-on clauses.
Yeah.
This completely reframes why elite clubs like Real Madrid are perfectly happy to let highly rated youth prospects just walk out the door.
Okay, wait, I need a good analogy here. Because on the surface, letting a highly rated prospect go seems foolish. But the way Madrid structured this, it sounds remarkably like real estate flipping.
Real estate flipping, I like that.
Yeah, it's like Madrid is selling a promising but unfinished house to a flipper, which is Fulham below market value. But Madrid writes a clause in the contract that says, when you finish renovating this house and put it back on the market, we get the first right to buy it back at the exact price anyone else offers.
Exactly.
Plus, they get a 30% cut of the profits. You are basically making Fulham do the dirty work of renovating the player, right?
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Madrid hedges their bets perfectly here. Right. By attaching matching rights. They ensure that if Garcia or Palacios turn into world beaters in the Premier League and another giant club tries to buy them, Madrid gets to match any accepted offer and bring them home.
Wow. And if they don't want them back?
If they decide not to buy them back, that massive 30% sell-on clause guarantees them a huge slice of the future transfer fee. Real Madrid is effectively treating mid-table Premier League clubs like paid finishing schools.
That's crazy.
Fulham takes on the immediate risk of playing unproven youth in the toughest league in the world, and Madrid reaps the rewards regardless of the outcome.
You are outsourcing your player development and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
That is incredibly shrewd.
It really is.
But this concept of building a tailored environment doesn't stop at club football. The Italy national team is attempting a fascinating structural shift.
Yeah, the new delegation.
They are bringing in Chelsea legend Gianfranco Zola as the new head of delegation, teaming him up with Claudio Ranieri and Roberto Mancini. I mean, that is a heavy-hitting brain trust.
It's a profound statement of intent. International football requires a different kind of management because you don't get these players every day on the training pitch, you know?
You have them for like a week at a time.
Exactly. So you are blending Mancini's tactical rigidity and tournament experience with Ranieri's renowned man management skills, and capping it off with Zola's inspirational, almost mythical aura. It just gives the squad an emotional anchor. Italy is building a holistic, culturally resonant coaching staff to balance the tactical with the psychological.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because these managers are just setting the stage for the players. And right now, we are dealing with the immediate aftermath of the 2026 World Cup.
Oh, the tournament tax.
Yeah. International Tournaments Act is the ultimate global shop window. We are seeing market values explode, and Manchester City is right in the thick of it.
Very much so.
They are in advanced talks with Lille for Ayyoub Bouaddi, the Moroccan star who was a breakout sensation at the World Cup. And the negotiations are hitting the 70 to 80 million euro range.
It's a massive number.
I have to play devil's advocate here. Hasn't history shown us that buying players based on a hot one-month streak at a World Cup is incredibly risky?
Well, yeah.
Look at James Rodriguez in 2014. How is City mitigating the risk that Bouaddi isn't just a flash in the pan?
It is a totally valid concern, often referred to as the tournament tax. A month of elite performances can literally double a player's valuation overnight.
Right.
But modern scouting departments, especially at a club like City, they don't rely on highlight reels anymore. They rely on underlying data.
Okay.
They aren't just looking at Bouaddi's goals or assists. They are measuring how quickly he scans the field under pressure, his pass completion rate in the final third against elite defensive blocks, and like his physical output in the 85th minute.
So the World Cup just provided a high-pressure testing environment for data they were already tracking.
Precisely. The World Cup proved to City's analysts that Bouaddi can maintain his underlying metrics under the highest conceivable global pressure. Yes, 80 million is a premium. But for Manchester City, the financial risk isn't overpaying by 15 million. The genuine risk is letting a generational talent slip away to a direct European rival just because they hesitated over the price tag.
The cost of doing business at the summit. And Juventus is operating in that exact same stratosphere.
They are.
They just secured their own 2026 World Cup standout, Kerim Alajbegovic from Bayer Leverkusen, in a 35 million euro package.
A great piece of business.
But their other move is what really caught my eye. Juventus agreed to a 45 million euro buy option to make PSG striker Randal Colomiani's loan permanent. But here is the catch. That 45 million payment is deferred entirely to next season.
This is creative accounting and squad management at its absolute finest.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Elite clubs constantly have to balance their books for financial fair play or FFP regulations.
Let me just translate that for the non-accountants out there. Basically, instead of putting a 45 million euro dent in this year's operating budget, which might trigger sanctions from the governing bodies, they are kicking the can down the road.
Exactly.
It's essentially a high-stakes football credit card, right? Buy the striker now, pay the invoice next fiscal year.
That's it exactly. It is amortization in practice. By deferring Kolomuani's fee to the next accounting period, Juventus secures a starting caliber striker today without breaking their current budgetary limits.
Okay, I see.
And this freed up the immediate liquid cash they needed to aggressively spend that $35 million on Alajbegovic. They locked down a young talent for the future while simultaneously securing their front line for tomorrow with Kolomuani.
All while staying FFP compliant.
Right, exactly.
Now, Juventus has to use that creative accounting because they carry heavy legacy wages. But what happens when you look at a club that doesn't have that historical baggage? A club driven almost entirely by data analytics. Let's look at Brentford.
Oh, the Sengo deal.
Yes. They are historically known for being incredibly shrewd and patient. Yet, they just smashed their club transfer record, paying £41 million to Lens for Mali midfielder Mamadou Senghar.
Yep.
And over in France, PSG is closing in on a €50 million domestic swoop for Monaco's Maghnes Akliouche.
Oh.
The baseline cost for potential has just skyrocketed.
The Brentford move is highly revealing. When a club that relies strictly on financial models and analytics breaks their transfer record by that margin, it indicates a shift in the market's median pricing.
Yeah. You think the whole market moved?
I do. Their internal data clearly shows Senghar's expected future output justifies a £41 million investment. They aren't paying for media hype, Yeah. They are paying for highly probable elite statistical performance.
Right.
It tells us that the analytical threshold for what constitutes value has shifted upward dramatically.
Speaking of shifting dramatically, we have to pivot back to Italy because AS Roma is currently operating like a panicked fantasy sports manager who just traded away half their roster on a Friday night.
It is a massive overhaul.
It is a frantic teardown and rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you an idea of the scale, they are negotiating with Real Betis for striker Ez Abde.
Yep.
They officially signed Greek center back Konstantinos Koulierakis from Wolfsburg for €15 million. They got a notice from Sporting Lisbon that Spanish right back Ivan Fresneda is available for $25 million.
Right. The list goes on.
They even loaned out left back Angelino de Deportivo La Coruña with a €2 million buy option just to clear space. It is a revolving door.
It is.
But my question is about the locker room. If you replace 60% of your starting 11 in one summer, who's the leader? Don't you completely lose the culture of the club?
You do risk losing institutional memory. Yes, that's a real danger.
Right.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, Roma's front office clearly believes their previous culture just wasn't conducive to winning.
Fair point.
They are aggressively reshaping the physical and tactical profile of the squad, prioritizing raw athleticism and tactical flexibility over legacy. And they're doing it by ruthlessly exploiting market inefficiencies.
Like the Givairo Read situation.
Oh, that was incredible.
This one made me laugh.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest spent weeks publicly trying to acquire Read from Feyenoord. They had 2 bids rejected.
Yep.
They did all the heavy lifting, tested the waters, and found out exactly what Feyenoord's breaking point was. And the minute Forest stalled, Roma swooped in and submitted a €25 million bid to hijack the deal.
It is predatory market behavior in the best possible sense.
Predatory.
It is. Roma utilized Nottingham Forest as a stalking horse. They let another club exhaust Feyenoord in negotiations, identified the exact acceptable price point, and struck immediately. It is ruthless, but it's highly effective squad building.
And Roma's actions are rippling outward. Look at the Real Madrid pipeline. Roma, Fiorentina, and several clubs in France and Spain are fiercely trying to loan Real Madrid youngster Franco Mastantuono.
Right.
Madrid is just stockpiling talent. They just triggered a €25 million release clause for Levante striker Carlos Espí. This kid is 194 centimeters tall and bagged 11 goals last season. Madrid basically beat out half the Premier League for him.
Well, Madrid has created a self-sustaining ecosystem. They purchase raw, immense physical talents like Espí. And if those players don't immediately crack one of the hardest starting 11s in the world, Madrid loans them out to clubs like Roma or Fiorentina, clubs that are desperate for high-level quality to gain crucial first-team experience.
Right, like we were talking about earlier with Fulham.
Exactly. The player develops in a top league, and Madrid either reaps a refined asset a year later or sells them for a massive profit.
While the outfield players are shifting, the goalkeeper carousel is spinning just as fast. With James Trafford leaving Manchester City for Leeds United, City is reportedly targeting Marseille's Gerónimo Rulli to back up Gianluigi Donnarumma. Having Donnarumma as your number one and bringing in a seasoned veteran like Rulli, who only has 1 year left on his contract, just to sit on the bench, That is an embarrassment of riches.
It is, but it's a necessary tactical contingency plan.
You think so?
Absolutely. When you are competing on 4 fronts deep into May, an injury to your starting goalkeeper can derail an entire season. Securing a veteran like Rulli provides immense psychological stability to the backline.
And think about the defenders.
Right. The defenders need to know that if Donnarumma goes down, the communication and organizational structure behind them won't just collapse.
You just can't afford to drop off. But what happens when the boardroom and the coaching staff disagree on how to avoid that drop-off? AC Milan is dealing with this right now.
The Sol versus non-honorary debate.
Exactly. The boardroom is heavily targeting Matthias Jaissle as their next marquee purchase. But the coaching staff has strongly recommended making a move for Ethan Nwaneri instead, who usually wins that tug-of-war.
That is the eternal tension in modern football administration.
Right.
The sporting directors in the boardroom look at market value, commercial brand appeal, and long-term asset appreciation. Sol represents a significant financial asset.
Okay.
But the coaching staff looks strictly at immediate tactical needs on the training pitch. They see a specific gap in their transition play or defensive shape that they believe Nwaneri solves today.
So who wins?
The clubs that succeed are the ones where the sporting director and the manager share a unified philosophy. When they diverge, you end up with expensive players sitting on the bench just because they don't fit the system.
So with giants like Roma, Milan, and Juve sucking up all the headlines, what does this mean for the rest of the Italian landscape? The mid-tier clubs are desperately scrambling to lock down talent before the window slams shut.
Well, the scramble is where you often find the greatest strategic innovation. Mid-tier clubs cannot compete financially with a Juventus, so they have to outcompete them structurally.
We are seeing that play out right now. Torino snapped up Ajax midfielder Kian Fitzjim for €3 million plus bonuses, which feels like a steal given the Ajax pedigree.
It's a great deal.
Then you have Monza securing Inter Milan midfielder Ebenezer Atkinson Miro for $7.5 million. But there's that mechanism again. A 10% future sell-on clause is attached.
Yep, there it is.
Inter Milan is running the exact same playbook as Real Madrid. Monza gets a highly motivated young talent to help them survive Serie A today, and Inter gets a 10% insurance policy on his future success tomorrow.
Precisely. It mitigates the risk for the selling club while providing immediate tactical relief for the buying club.
But the most fascinating mechanism for tactical relief has to be direct player swaps, which we rarely see anymore. Kieran Bowie is heading to Sassuolo for €5 million, and going the exact opposite way, Samuel Mulattieri is heading to Verona. Why are these direct swaps so uncommon, and why do them at all?
They are exceedingly rare because valuing 2 separate players simultaneously, managing 2 sets of agents, and aligning wage demands is incredibly complex.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It is. But the accounting magic behind it is exactly why clubs like Sassuolo and Verona attempt it.
Wait, break down that accounting magic for me. How does this actually help them?
Okay, so under FFP rules, when Sassuolo sells a player for €5 million, they get to record that entire $5 million as immediate profit on this year's balance sheet.
Right.
However, when they buy a player for $5 million, they spread that cost over the length of the player's contract, say 5 years.
Oh.
So they only record a €1 million expense for this year. By swapping players of equal value, both clubs instantly record a massive profit on their books, while only taking a fraction of the cost, significantly boosting their immediate financial health.
That is wild. It's essentially a legal loophole to manufacture balance sheet profit without actual liquid cash changing hands. Fascinating.
It really is.
And then we have Parma, quietly doing solid business, loaning Borussia Dortmund's young winger Ousmane Diallo for a season. But the wildest story in this tier of clubs belongs to Como.
Oh, the Lucumi hijack.
Yes. Como is ambitiously trying to hijack Juventus's move for Bologna center back John Lucumi, even though reports say the player's ultimate dream is to play for Juve. What does it say about the ambition of a newly promoted side like Como, that they're willing to step into the ring and try to outmuscle a titan like Juventus?
It highlights a fundamental shift in player empowerment, honestly. It proves that no player is truly off limits if a smaller club can offer something a giant cannot guarantee.
On what is that, playing time?
Exactly. Como can offer Lucumi guaranteed, immediate minutes as the undisputed star and leader of their defense.
Right.
At Juventus, he might find himself rotating in and out of the squad based on matchups. For a young player looking to develop and secure a spot on his national team, guaranteed minutes on the pitch can often trump the prestige of a massive badge on the shirt. shirt. Como is literally utilizing their starting 11 as a bargaining chip against Juventus's deeper bench.
Weaponizing the starting 11. I love that framing. Man, what a journey this has been today. We've gone from shocking managerial appointments like Eddie Howe's exit setting off tactical dominoes to the post-2026 World Cup financial explosions driving up prices everywhere.
It's been a busy window.
Extremely. We've navigated AS Roma's frantic squad reinvention and seen how every single piece of this transfer puzzle is deeply connected through creative accounting and strategic clauses.
It really is a highly sensitive, interconnected ecosystem. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Go for it.
We spent a lot of time today discussing the underlying mechanics of these deals, right? With massive clubs like Real Madrid and Inter Milan increasingly relying on matching rights and sell-on clauses when sending their top youth to places like Fulham or Monza. Are we entering an era where mid-tier professional clubs are effectively being turned into paid, high-stakes development academies for the elite? If a mid-table team doesn't actually control the ultimate financial or contractual destiny of their best players, what happens to the competitive balance of the sport?
That is a brilliant and honestly a slightly terrifying question to end on. Does anyone outside the top 5 clubs really own their players anymore? Or are they just renting them? Wow.
Something to think about.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly packed deep dive today. We promised to meticulously cover every single transfer update and leave nothing out, and we delivered.
Absolutely.
But remember, the market never sleeps. To ensure you never miss out on these deep dives and to stay completely ahead of the curve on all breaking transfer news, you absolutely must like, share, and subscribe right now. Don't wait. Hit those buttons. We'll see you next time as we continue to find the hidden architecture in the beautiful chaos of the transfer market.